You're watching Unsolved South. Pay attention to this young man entering the Ugly Tuna Saloona bar in Columbus, Ohio. He is 27-year-old Brian Shaffer, a second-year medical student at Ohio State University. The timestamp reads 9 p.m., April 1st, 2006. Watch him closely. He walks through the entrance with two friends. He is smiling. He does not know it yet, but this is the last time Brian Shaffer will ever be seen. Now watch this same entrance. This is the only way in or out of the bar. It is monitored by 3 separate security cameras covering every angle. They recorded hundreds of people leaving that night: drunk college students, bar staff, security guards. But Brian Shaffer was not one of them. He walked in at 9 p.m. He was seen inside the bar until 1:55 a.m. Then he vanished. No footage shows him leaving. No witness saw him exit. It has been 17 years. He has never been found. This is the story of a man who entered a bar and disappeared into thin air. March 2006, Columbus, Ohio. Brian Randall Shaffer was living what many would call a perfect life. At 27, he was in his second year at the Ohio State University College of Medicine. He was intelligent, charismatic, and well-liked. He had a girlfriend, Alexis Wagoner, a fellow medical student. They had been dating for several years and were planning to vacation together in Miami the following week. Brian had already purchased the tickets, but behind this perfect image, Brian was struggling. 2 weeks earlier, on March 16th, his mother, Renee Shaffer, had died unexpectedly from a rare blood disorder. Brian was devastated. He and his mother had been extremely close. Her death shook him. Friends noticed he seemed distracted and emotional in the days following the funeral. But Brian tried to push forward. He continued attending classes. He made plans for the Miami trip. He told friends he needed to get away to clear his head. Friday, March 31st, 2006. It was the last day of spring break week at Ohio State. Students were returning to campus. Brian decided to go out with friends. He wanted to blow off steam. He called his friend William Clint Florence and another friend, Meredith Reed. The plan was simple: bar hopping in Columbus's busy arena district. Their first stop would be the Ugly Tuna Saloona, a popular college bar located on the second floor of a building near campus. Brian met Clint and Meredith at around 9 p.m. Security cameras at the entrance of the Ugly Tuna captured all 3 entering the bar together. They went upstairs. They ordered drinks. The night had begun. The Ugly Tuna Saloona was packed that night. It was a Saturday before spring classes resumed. The bar had 2 levels, a main floor and a small patio area. There was only one public entrance, a single escalator and staircase leading up from the street level. This entrance was monitored by security cameras. Every person who entered or exited was recorded. Brian, Clint, and Meredith spent the evening drinking and socializing. At approximately 1:15 a.m., the group decided to move to another bar. They walked toward the exit. Security footage shows them leaving the Ugly Tuna at 1:15 a.m. and going downstairs to the street. But once outside, they realized the next bar had a long line. They decided to return to the Ugly Tuna. The cameras captured them re-entering at approximately 1:40 a.m. This is where things become strange. At 1:55 a.m., security footage shows Brian standing near the bar's entrance, talking to 2 young women. The women were not identified. The conversation lasted approximately 2 minutes. Brian is seen briefly putting his arm around one of the women. Then he turns and walks back toward the bar area. He moves out of the camera's frame. That is the last confirmed sighting of Brian Shaffer. At 2:00 a.m., the Ugly Tuna Saloona announced last call. The bar began closing procedures. Clint and Meredith looked for Brian. They assumed he was in the bathroom or talking to someone. They waited near the entrance. The bar closed at 2:30 a.m. Security began ushering people out. Clint called Brian's cell phone. It went to voicemail. He sent text messages. No response. At approximately 2:45 a.m., Clint and Meredith left the bar. They assumed Brian had left earlier and gone home without telling them. This was unusual, but not alarming. They went home. They expected to hear from Brian the next day. They did not. Sunday, April 2nd, 2006. Alexis Wagoner tried calling Brian multiple times. His phone went straight to voicemail. She called Clint. He told her they had lost track of Brian at the bar, but assumed he went home. Alexis drove to Brian's apartment. His car, a light-colored Toyota 4Runner, was parked outside. She knocked on the door. No answer. She called his father, Randy Shaffer. Randy drove to the apartment. He used his spare key to enter. The apartment was empty. Brian's keys, wallet, and cell phone were missing, but everything else was in place. His textbooks were on the desk. His clothes were in the closet. There were no signs of a struggle. Randy called the Columbus Police Department at 5:30 p.m. and filed a missing person report. Detective Andre Edwards was assigned to the case. He immediately recognized the urgency. Brian was not the type to disappear. He was a responsible medical student with strong family ties. He had a girlfriend, a planned vacation, and no history of erratic behavior. Edwards began interviewing witnesses. On April 3rd, detectives visited the Ugly Tuna Saloona. They requested all security footage from the night of April 1st. The footage was reviewed frame by frame. What they found was baffling. The cameras captured Brian entering at 9:00 p.m. They captured him leaving briefly at 1:15 a.m. and re-entering at 1:40 a.m. They captured him talking to the two women at 1:55 a.m. But after that, nothing. Brian was never seen leaving the bar. Detectives reviewed footage from all three cameras covering the entrance. They watched every single person exit between 1:55 a.m. and 2:30 a.m. when the bar closed. Over 60 people left. Brian Shaffer was not among them. Detectives considered other exits. The Ugly Tuna had a service entrance used for deliveries, but it was locked from the inside and required a key. Staff confirmed it was not used that night. There was a construction area behind the bar where renovations were taking place, but it was sealed off and had no exit to the street. The only public exit was the main entrance, and Brian did not use it. The case was upgraded to a high-priority investigation. April 4th, 2006. The Columbus Police Department held a press conference. They released Brian's photo and asked for public tips. The response was immediate. Dozens of people called in. Some claimed to have seen Brian at the bar. Others reported seeing someone matching his description in the days after. Every tip was investigated. None led to Brian. Detectives re-interviewed Clint Florence and Meredith Reed. Both cooperated fully. They provided detailed statements and allowed police to search their homes and vehicles. Nothing was found. Detectives also interviewed Alexis Wagoner. She was devastated. She told police Brian had been depressed after his mother's death, but he was not suicidal. He was excited about their Miami trip. She had no reason to believe he would run away. On April 6th, search teams conducted a physical search of the Ugly Tuna Saloona. The entire bar was examined. Police searched the construction area behind the bar, tearing down drywall and checking sealed-off spaces. They searched the roof. They searched the basement. They found nothing. No evidence of Brian. Cadaver dogs were brought in. The dogs alerted in the construction area, but no body was found. The alert was inconclusive. Detectives expanded the search to nearby buildings and dumpsters. Still nothing. Brian's cell phone records were subpoenaed. The last activity on his phone was at 2:01 a.m. on April 2nd. The phone had pinged a cell tower near the bar, confirming he was still in the area. After 2:01 a.m., the phone went dead. It was either turned off or the battery died. The phone has never been used again. His bank accounts and credit cards showed no activity after April 1st. His car remained parked at his apartment. His social media accounts went silent. Brian Shaffer had completely vanished. As weeks turned into months, the case grew cold. Detectives had no leads, no body, no evidence of foul play. But theories began to circulate. The most popular theory is that Brian exited through the construction zone. The area was undergoing renovations and had temporary walls and barriers. Some believe there was a gap or opening that led to a different part of the building or even outside. Brian, possibly intoxicated, could have wandered into the construction area and found an unmonitored exit. However, police searched the area extensively and found no such opening. Additionally, construction workers confirmed the area was sealed off and there was no exit to the street. Some believe Brian was harmed inside the bar. Perhaps he got into an altercation with another patron or bar staff. He could have been attacked and his body hidden somewhere in the building. However, no evidence of violence was found. No blood, no signs of a struggle, and no one reported seeing or hearing a confrontation. The bar was crowded with witnesses. Given that Brian had recently lost his mother and was reportedly depressed, some speculated he chose to disappear. He could have exited the bar through an unmonitored route and started a new life elsewhere. However, this theory has significant problems. Brian left behind his car, his apartment, and his girlfriend. He had a planned vacation and was scheduled to return to medical school. His bank accounts and phone have never been accessed. For 17 years, he has not contacted his family. This would require an extraordinary level of commitment and planning. Another theory suggests Brian left the bar through an unknown exit and met with an accident. He could have fallen into a body of water, been hit by a car, or suffered some other fatal mishap. His body could be in a location that has not been searched. However, this theory does not explain how he left the bar without being seen on camera. The two unidentified women Brian was seen talking to at 1:55 a.m. remain a mystery. Despite public appeals, they never came forward. Some believe they hold the key to what happened. Did Brian leave with them? Did they witness something? Detectives were never able to identify them. As the years passed, attention turned to Brian's friend, Clint Florence. Clint was the last person known to be with Brian that night. He was cooperative initially, but in 2008, 2 years after Brian disappeared, Clint hired a lawyer and refused to take a polygraph test. This raised suspicions. Brian's father, Randy Shaffer, publicly stated he believed Clint knew more than he was saying. In interviews, Randy expressed frustration that Clint would not fully cooperate with investigators. He did not accuse Clint of harming Brian, but he believed Clint might have information that could help solve the case. Clint Florence, through his attorney, denied any involvement. He stated he had told police everything he knew and that he had nothing to hide. He argued that his refusal to take a polygraph was based on his lawyer's advice and was not an admission of guilt. Detectives questioned Clint multiple times over the years. He was never named a suspect. No evidence ever linked him to Brian's disappearance. The controversy created a rift. Some people believed Clint was hiding something. Others believed he was unfairly targeted. The truth remains unknown. Over the years, there have been multiple reported sightings of Brian Shaffer. In 2008, a private investigator claimed to have information that Brian was alive and living in Texas. The tip was investigated. It led nowhere. In 2020, a man in Florida was reported to resemble Brian. Police investigated. It was not him. Brian's family never gave up hope. His father, Randy Shaffer, spent years searching. He hired private investigators, distributed flyers, and appeared on television programs. In 2008, the case was featured on an episode of Disappeared on the Investigation Discovery Channel. The episode brought national attention, but no new leads. Randy Shaffer died in 2023 at the age of 79. He died without ever knowing what happened to his son. Brian's girlfriend, Alexis Wagoner, moved on with her life. She married and had children, but she has stated publicly that she still thinks about Brian and wonders what happened to him. In 2020, the Columbus Police Department announced they were re-examining the case using new technology. They reviewed all evidence, re-interviewed witnesses, and used advanced forensic techniques to analyze the security footage. They also conducted new searches of the area around the Ugly Tuna Saloona. Nothing new was found. The bar itself, the Ugly Tuna Saloona, closed in 2019. The building still stands, but the second floor where the bar was located is now vacant. The cameras that recorded Brian's final moments are long gone. The case remains open, but no active leads are being pursued. Brian Shaffer walked into a bar on April 1, 2006. He was captured on camera. He was seen by dozens of witnesses, but he never walked out. For 17 years, investigators have tried to answer one question. How does a person vanish from a crowded bar with only one exit, monitored by 3 cameras? No one has been able to answer it. Brian Shaffer was 27 years old. He was 2 years away from becoming a doctor. He had a future, a family, and a girlfriend who loved him. On April 1, 2006, he walked into the Ugly Tuna Saloona. The cameras show him entering. They do not show him leaving. His father spent 17 years searching. He died without answers. His girlfriend moved on, but she never forgot. His friends carry the weight of that night. And the 2 women he was seen talking to at 1:55 a.m. have never been identified. Brian Shaffer's case is one of the most baffling disappearances in American history. He did not leave through the front door. He did not leave through the construction area. He simply vanished. If you have any information about Brian Shaffer's disappearance, please contact the Columbus Police Department. Even the smallest detail could help bring closure to this case. Until then, the question remains: where is Brian Shaffer? What do you think happened to Brian Shaffer? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to Unsolved South for more true crime mysteries.